Good evening. RENEWS English section is on air. I'm Sona Tumanyan. Daily news, expert opinions, and topics that are the main target of your interest are the basic priorities of the Reopen Media. Join us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, Spotify. Get your portion of information from our official website, reopen.media. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan held a phone call marking a notable development following recent meetings in Tirana, the Armenian government said. According to the official statement, Pashinyan congratulated Erdogan on the occasion of Kurban Bayram, while Erdogan congratulated Pashinyan on Armenia being selected to host the European Political Community Summit in the spring of 2026. The two leaders discussed Armenia-Turkey relations and regional developments and agreed to continue their dialogue. Despite the absence of formal diplomatic relations with Turkey, Armenia maintains an active and effective dialogue that surpasses that of many countries with official ties, Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan said in Parliament. Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan said Wednesday that while the ongoing dialogue with Turkey has been positive, it is time for it to produce concrete outcomes. Of course, anyone would be right to say that it is long overdue for the dialogue to yield tangible results on the ground, Mirzoyan told lawmakers. He noted that the process has been constructive for some time, but added, it's time to see final outcomes. Mirzoyan pointed to one example of progress, the full renovation of the Markara border crossing with Turkey, which has been completed and is ready for operation since February. This checkpoint is fully controlled by Armenia's border troops, he added. Armenia and Azerbaijan have reached a preliminary agreement to jointly search for individuals missing from the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, Armenian National Security Service Director Armen Abazian announced Tuesday. Speaking to reporters in Parliament, Abazian said this was the second meeting between the two countries' committees on missing persons and called the talks a positive step. He confirmed that the agreement includes plans for ongoing joint search operations but did not provide a timeline or specific details. We are the most interested party in achieving results, Abazian said. Everything possible is being done, though I can't predict when we'll see outcomes. The effort marks a rare point of cooperation between the two nations following decades of conflicts over the disputed region. Armenia takes part in CIS Heads of Government meeting in Dushanbe. Armenia's Deputy Prime Minister Meher Grigoryan is taking part in a meeting of CIS Heads of Government held in Dushanbe, Tajikistan. Leaders are discussing ways to boost cooperation in industry and engineering, improve air traffic systems, and create a shared system to monitor chemical, biological, and radiation risks across member countries. Ukraine's security service has released new video footage from its spiderweb operation showing the destruction of Russian aircraft. Officials said Friday the operation is part of Ukraine's broader strategy to target high-value military assets behind enemy lines. Russian President Vladimir Putin claimed Friday that Ukraine's leadership, which he described as already lacking legitimacy, is turning into a terrorist organization. Putin alleged that Ukraine is suffering heavy losses and retreating along the entire front line and is now resorting to terror attacks to intimidate Russians. Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump held a phone call Tuesday evening that lasted 1 hour and 15 minutes, according to Trump. In a statement, Trump said the two discussed recent Ukrainian attacks on Russian aircraft at airports, as well as other mutual security concerns. It was a good conversation, but not one that will lead to immediate peace, he said. Trump noted that Putin was very clear about needing to respond to the airport strikes. Another key part of the discussion focused on Iran. Trump warned that Tehran should not delay its response and repeated his long-standing position that Iran must never obtain nuclear weapons, a stance he said Putin supports. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un pledged unconditional support for Russia's position on Ukraine during a meeting with Russia's Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu in Pyongyang, Reuters reported Thursday, citing North Korean state television. The talks held Wednesday at the Workers' Party headquarters also focused on strengthening the country's strategic partnership and expanding cooperation across multiple sectors, according to state media. The meeting follows a defense treaty signed during Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to North Korea last year, which includes a mutual military assistance clause if either country comes under armed attack. London and Paris have finalized a joint plan to deploy troops to Ukraine, according to Bloomberg report. However, both governments have delayed implementation until peace negotiations resume. The report comes after U.S. Special Envoy Kate Kellogg said Washington is considering the potential development of British, Polish, French and German forces west of the Dnipro River as part of a broad effort to stabilize the conflict. Officials have not released details on the size or scope of the proposed deployments. U.S. President Donald Trump signed a proclamation Wednesday banning nationals from 12 countries from entering the United States, citing the need to protect against terrorism and other security threats, Reuters reported. The full ban applies to Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan and Yemen. Partial restrictions will be imposed on travelers from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan and Venezuela. The list is subject to revision and new countries can be added as threats emerge, Trump said in a video statement from the White House. The proclamation takes effect Monday, June 9 at 12:01 a.m. EDT. Existing visas will remain valid according to the order. The United States has voted a UN Security Council resolution demanding an immediate, unconditional and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, despite support from 14 of the Council's 15 members, including the UK, France, Russia and China. Washington argued the resolution failed to call for the release of hostages held by Hamas and said it drew a false equivalence between Hamas and Israel, undermining Israel's right to self-defense. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken reiterated that the U.S. will continue to support Israel at the United Nations. Israel will participate in an EU Southern Neighborhood ministerial meeting in Brussels on June 23, despite strained relations over Gaza, Euronews reports. The meeting aims to strengthen cooperation on issues like trade, energy and migration with 10 southern partners, including Israel and Palestine. The EU is reviewing possible human rights violations by Israel linked to its Gaza blockade, a move Israel rejects. Officials say the meeting will not focus on the Gaza conflict, but on broader regional cooperation. The EU remains Israel's largest trading partner with over 45 billion euros in annual trade. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia's proposal delivered during June 2 talks in Istanbul resemble ultimatums and are not taken seriously by Kyiv or its partners. He stressed that these demands are unacceptable. Zelensky proposed an unconditional ceasefire before a potential leaders' meeting, possibly mediated by the US. He explained that the ceasefire would only continue if both sides show a genuine willingness to reduce tensions. Zelensky also reaffirmed his readiness to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin even tomorrow. Ukraine's security service says it's carried out a planned underwater explosion that damaged part of the Crimea bridge on June 3. The operation, prepared over several months, involved planting explosives on the bridge supports. SBU Chief Vasyl Melyuk called the bridge a legitimate military target used by Russia to supply its forces. He emphasized that there were no civilian casualties and reaffirmed Crimea is Ukraine. After Ukraine damaged part of the Crimea bridge in an underwater attack, Russia launched strikes in return. Russian media shared videos of explosions in areas controlled by Ukraine. Ukraine said the bridge was a legal military target used by Russian forces. Valentina Matvienko, Speaker of Russia's Federation Council, has arrived in Armenia with a large delegation of over 20 officials. The group will stay in Yerevan's Twin Hotel from June 5 to 6. The visit includes stops at the EVOCABANK Genocide Memorial and the Mother Armenia Monument, along with meetings with Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Parliament Speaker Alen Simonian. For more updates, follow us on YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, X, Facebook, and Spotify. Daily news and full coverage are available on our official website. You can find all platform links in the live stream description and pinned comment. This segment was presented by Sona Tumanyan. Goodbye.